Hello guys, welcome to another new video tutorial. Today in our video tutorial series, we are going to solve a new problem from arrays concept in interview bit. Our today's problem is going to be n by 3 repeated number. So which is of a medium level and which was previously asked in interviews like that of Google. So I want to share something before the starting the problem. So I have tried to solve this problem, but I have really no idea how to solve this. So I went for some resources like that of Google and YouTube. So I've browsed many things about this, but I haven't really understood many of the solutions which they are providing. So many of the solutions which they are providing are requiring us to have some prior knowledge about Morse voting algorithm and stuff. And while seeing the procedure, many of them, like, I'm not um, particularly saying about some person, but many of them are trying to copy paste the code and running it and trying to show this is the correct solution. So I didn't like such procedure. So I've tried a lot, and I tried to come up with a proper understanding of how to analyze this problem, and I'm going to solve it and tell you the actual procedure which is happening. And as you know, I'm an absolute beginner, so I think this video will be helpful for beginners like me who are who have just started coding. So if you're a pro programmer, and I think this video is not for you. Why? Because this is going to be a bit lengthy. So let's get started. So here, the problem says that we are given an integer a. So integer a has a certain size n. So first of all, let's declare our very lovely variable n, and let's assign it to a size of a. So the first task is done. Okay, so we have the value n. So we are required to find an integer which occurs more than n by 3 times in that array. Oh, okay, cool, interesting. So if no such number exists, we are required to return minus 1. So this is cool. So let's see the brute forcing technique. So the first for loop we are going to run. This is for capturing an element. Okay, we are trying to capture an element from the given array. So that is the significance of first for loop. Okay, the second for loop which I'm going to check a comparison check. So in the second for loop we are going to compare. Say for example, I am having an array 1 2 1 3 1. Okay, something of this sort. Yeah, that is what they have mentioned. Okay. Here the first element is 1. We are capturing it in the first for loop. In this, and we are going to compare whether such one is occurring in the rest of the array. If it is occurring, we are going to increase its frequency by 1. Say the occurrence frequency, we are declaring a variable and initially we are assigning it to 0. And inside the for second for loop, if occurred, we are going to increase the frequency by 1. So by the end of the second for loop, we are going to check if the frequency is greater than n by 3. If it is greater than n by 3, then we are going to return that, I'm sorry for this, return that particular element. This is what we are trying to do. So this is the first and foremost method which comes into our mind. So if you closely observe this, this is going to be order of time complexity order of n square. So this is not which is expected from big giants like Google. So they ask us definitely to minimize the code. So this is the approach one. So I'm keeping it as method one. Okay, let us see a method two, how to solve this. So in the method 2, for the first for loop, what I'm going to do, I'm going to traverse through the given array, traverse the array. Okay. After traversing the array, whenever you find an element, before going into for loop, I am going to declare a map that stores the number and its frequency. Okay, it's going to be unordered map. So that, why unordered map we are considering? If it is an unordered map, the searching with the key is going to be like a order of one. So that we are going to make use of that. So we are going to search whether such a element exists in the given unordered map or not. Check the existence. We are going to do exist. I'm sorry for this, existence in map. If that particular element is in the map, okay, okay, we are going to check the existence. If if exists, I'm sorry for this. If exists, if it is exists, what we are going to do? We are going to increase that particular frequency by one. So this frequency we are going to be increasing by one. Okay, and if not exists, if it doesn't exist, like this is an else statement, then we are going to assign map of that element and its frequency equals to one. We are just starting it. So this is the case. So by the end, we are going to have we have a map with elements, elements and respective frequencies. Respective frequencies. In the second next, we are going to declare another for loop, which will traverse through the map which we built. So we have built a map and we are going to traverse through that map and check frequency greater than n by 3. So here we are going to check if some element is having the frequency greater than n by 3, then return that particular element. Okay, then return element. We are going to return it. If not, we are going to return minus 1. So this is the method 2. As you can see, the first for loop is in the order of n, and second for loop is also in the order of n. So the overall time complexity is going to be order of n. This is fine. As they said, the array find the solution in linear time complexity, so this is fine. But we have a problem with this unordered map. As we are declaring this unordered map and we are storing the numbers and their frequencies in this unordered map, so the space is going to consume some space of order of n. So what they have advised in the problem, it should have a constant additional space. So we are required order of one. So what shall we do? So let's go to the third method. Okay. I hope you understood the first two methods. One is brute forcing. The method two is using a map. So let's clean this completely. Let's see the method 3. Method 3 speaks something about a Morse voting algorithm. Let's not get into the deepest parts of this, but I'm going to explain you what is basically trying to do. So if you consider an array, say for example, it has some 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and 2, and 1, and 1. So basically, in Morse voting algorithm, you are going to find the element which occurs for the more than n by 2 times. Say, for example, you are given an array of size n. Say to be something like 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. So here the array size is 5, right? The array size is 5. We are required to find an element which occurs more than n by 2 times in the Morse voting algorithm. Okay, so 5 by 2, that turns out to be 2. So more than 2 in the sense, required at least three times. So it must occur greater than two times in the sense an element must occur at least three times. So in an array of five, if a single element is occurring three times, so there is the other two spaces are for maybe a different element. So there is only one such integer is possible. Whereas if we consider the same for n by 3, we can say there are two answers possible. So when is that case? Say for example, you're having something of this sort. You're having a six element array. So, say consider this case. So 6 by 3 is going to be 2. We are required to find an element which has an occurrence greater than 2 times. So in the sense, at least 3 times it need to occur. So in this particular array, you are getting 1 3 times and 2 as 3 times. So in an array, there are two chances. Like two elements can have the majority. So we are going to subject the two elements. So it is clear that there are two elements possible which can have the majority. So I am considering two elements. So one is element number one, and okay, element number two. Okay, we cannot initialize the element one and element two some with some sort of variables. Why? Because initially we don't know that. So I'm going to leave it like that for some instance. So next, so we are also required to find the frequencies of the other element. Say for example this is 3. Also we are required to check the frequencies. Like based upon the frequencies, we are going to find these two major elements. I am going to tell you shortly how is that is possible. Say frequency 1, which is the frequency of the first element, how many times it is occurring, and the frequency to for the second element. So I am assigning both of them to 0 initially. So we are going to run the first for loop for int I equals 0 semicolon I less than n semicolon I plus plus. So this is the first for loop. So inside the first for loop, what we are going to see is if element 1 is occurring. So initially there is nothing in element 1, but later on in this for inside this for loop, we are going to assign this element 1 with the first integer. So it is like we are pointing two integers, two pointers for the first and second element, and we are keeping on shifting them. I will tell you how to execute that and what is the order in which it needs to be executed. So we are going to check if that element which we are subjecting, which is a of I, is equals to even. So it means, so even has occurred previously and it is occurring again. So we are required to increase the frequency of 1. So f1 plus plus, we are increasing the frequency of 1 by 1. Okay, so else if that is not happening, if say for example if the second major element is occurring, so if a of I is equal to this second major element, then what we are going to do, we are increasing the frequency of 2 by plus plus. Okay, else if so initially if you consider this array, this particular array, the first element is 1. So first element is 1. So here if we are comparing, definitely e1 and e2 must be initialized with some values. So you cannot initialize it with say 0 or minus 1. Why? Because such elements can be possible in the given input array. So let us declare them as int max, okay, for convenience. And we did this. Okay, initially a of I is 1. So 1 is not equal to int max. Similarly, it's going to execute the next else if statement. So this is also false. So if both of them are false, so here we are required to initialize the first element else if. So it means what, we are having the frequency as 0. So no other element is yet, we haven't pointed these two variables e1 and e2 to any of the uh, numbers in the given array. Like they are not storing any of the variables from the given array. So here we are assigning the e1 as a of I. Okay, now e1 equal to 1. You got that e1 equal to 1. So E1 got vote number 1. So vote number 1. So I am adding that vote to E1. Okay, that is fine. Next, if similarly, so if you are going to the second element is going to be 2. Okay. So if second element is 2, if 2 is equal to 1, no, this is not possible. So this is going to fail. So similarly, here we have e2 equal to int max and a of I equal to 2, which is a false. So this is going to fail. And f1 equal to 0. This is not the case. Why? Because here e1 equal to 1 and f1 is also becoming 1 in the previous case as we are increasing. So we are going to have a fourth case when f2 equal to 0. Here we are going to initialize the element 2 with a of I. So here the element 2 is getting initialized to a of I. This means what? We are having the element 2 equal to 2, and we are also increasing the respective frequency by 1. So we have, for now we are having the two majority elements as 1 and 2, which are stored in E1 and E2. Okay, I mean F2 plus plus. Okay, uh, yeah, that's it. So there is one such case. Say for example here, okay, say for example you are having a value as 3. So a of I is going to be 3 in the next loop. 3 is not equal to 1 and 3 is not equal to 2. So both of these cases are going to fail. And also f1 is not equal to 0, f2 is not equal to 0. So there is a third person other than this 1 and 2 who is coming into the competition. So in such cases, as we are declaring only two variables, we are thinking like there are only two major people. But here we have seen a third person. Okay, third person. So what to do? Instead of increasing the number of votes of the third person, we are going to decrease the existing majority people votes by one each. So we are going to decrease the votes of either of them by one. Okay, f2 minus minus. Okay, so what we are doing, we are reducing the votes of the people who are in the majority each by one. So then this is going to be zero, then this is going to be zero. Assume we are having the next element is also as 3. So for now still we are having the majority two elements as 1 and 2. But what needs to be happen here, 3 is occurring two times. So 3 needs to be swapped. So in such case, what we are having, f1 equal to 0 and f2 equal to 0. This is the case we have. So this is now next element we are having a of I equal to 3. So 3 is not equal to 1. So this is going to fail. This is going to fail. Whereas this is going to pass. So here we are assigning element 1 with 3 and f1 equal to 1 again. So again it started. So we have swapped. So 1 is no more in the competition, 3 came into the competition, 2 is still existing in the competition. Okay. So what is happening? The next element is 1. So 1, so this is going to fail, this is going to fail, even this is going to fail. So this is going to pass. So what we're doing, element 2 we are assigning it to 1. Why? Because f2 is 0 and we are increasing f2 is 1. Now 3 and 1 are in the race. So the next part is again 1. So this is going to be true, and we are going to, sorry, this is going to be true and we are going to increase this by 2. So if you can see clearly, the f1 and f2 are of no use. Like after this, they are just to see which two elements are having the maximum occurrence. So which are of no use for us in the later times. So what we are going to do, we came to know that we are having two major elements, 1 and 2. So now what we are going to do is, we are going to declare two other variables. Set int temp frequency 1 for our understanding and assign it to 0, and sorry, and temp frequency 2 I am also assigning it to 0. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry for this. So this is it. So two variables we have declared in order to check out of the both elements e1 and e2, and like we are required to record their frequencies. So for that we are going to run another for loop for int I equal to 0 semicolon I less than n semicolon I plus plus. So this is the case. So if, yeah, we're going to write a if statement if the element which we are subjecting is equals to e1, which means what, if we found the e1, then we are going to increase the temp frequency by 1. Okay, if a of I equal to e2, this is the second case, then we are going to increase the temp frequency 2 by 1. So what we are doing, we are again emptying the frequencies of both the element, after the first for loop we came to know e1 equal to 3, e2 equal to 1. These are the two major elements possible in the given array. So after that we are going to find their frequencies, how many times the subjected 3 and 1 are existing, how many times, like what's the frequency of 3 and 1 we are computing in the second for loop. So after that we are going to compare if temp frequency is greater than n by 3. So if the first element is greater than n by 3, so then we are required to return even, else if temp frequency 2 is greater than n by 3, if the second element is having the highest frequency, then we are going to return e2. Okay. Also the case, I'm sorry for this. Okay, no need of quotes. Why? Because we are having just only one statement after the if, then we are not required to put the curly braces. So else if no such element is existing, then we are going to return -1. Okay, for now I'm going to remove all this explanation. Okay, before removing the explanation I'm going to tell you a important thing in this. Here the order of the else if statements cannot be changed so randomly. Why? Because say for example you are putting this f1 value in the top and you are bringing this statement into else if. So what is going to happen, as we know, after second or third iteration, if say for example initially if we remember this is 1 and 0, in the previous explanation I was said. So if it is becoming 0 and if this is the first if statement, f1 equal to 0, then what we are doing, e1 we are assigning to e of 3, then itself it is becoming 3, f1 equal to 1. So so what is happening, like one of the element which needs to be in race is getting thrown away from the race. So that is the thing. So this order cannot be changed. In general, no other person like me, maybe like very beginner, cannot get this idea immediately after seeing. We are required to work on it. So I've tried a lot in understanding what exactly is happening with the problem, and I want to share this with you, which can be useful for people like me who are very slow at the programming. So let's test this code. Okay, we are having, okay, I'm sorry, I missed a semicolon. This is the greatest mistake everyone will do. Yeah, it's a success. Let's submit the code. Yeah, every test case is passed. I hope you understood all the concept in this video, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you like my videos, please share my videos with your friends and subscribe to my channel for more such videos like this. Thank you.